Hey, what's going on, everybody? Thank you first and so much for tuning in today. I know it's been a minute since we posted an interview, but I'm super excited about today's interview. But before we get into it, I want you to do me a favor right now. Just need you to take a moment and like this page if you have not already. I want you to comment, make sure you share this out. This conversation tonight is going to be something that you definitely want people you're connected to see. Those of you who want to follow us, you can, of course, follow us on this page. Follow me on Instagram at Epowerment LLC. Also, you can stay connected to the business by receiving motivational text messages every day by texting the word ePower LLC, all one word, to 347-765-1741. Please do me that favor, support. I love you guys so much for supporting. Thank you so much for being with me, and I'm so excited about tonight. I want to introduce you my guest. She is one of my church friends. She is one of the biggest sweethearts you'll ever meet. So I'm super duper to introduce you to the one and only Whitney.
Hello, everyone. Hello.
What's going on, Whit?
I'm doing good. I'm out here in LA enjoying the good weather.
Oh my, she got everything.
I just got to put that in there.
So yeah, Whitney just moved to California not too long ago, so she's loving it. I want to tell people real quick how we met. So I'm a youth pastor in Brooklyn. For those of you who don't know, I pastor just this little youth group called.
It's not little. Don't downsize it.
I have a little youth group. This is a little youth group in Brooklyn called Pilgrim Fresh Fire. You can follow us on Instagram also, Pilgrim Fresh Fire. We have some dope things going on. I love them. And she used to visit our services. I remember one day, I don't know if you even remember, but for a birthday celebration, you stood up and you kind of gave a testimony about how you watched our service online, and ever since then you would take 2 trains from Harlem every other Friday to visit us. And I don't think I've ever told you, I don't think I've ever shared with you how much that motivated me, because as leaders, we sometimes get so stuck and we have no idea if we're reaching people, if we're effective. So when you stood up to say that, it was at a time when I was really, really down, really trying to figure out was I in the right space, was I doing it right? And you have no idea how much your support for Fresh Fire pushed me to keep going. So I've never got a chance to say thank you, but thank you so much for all you. Even though you're gone, we still feel your support. You're always like on our Instagram, you're always on our page, on our stream. So I've never got a moment to say thank you, but let me just say this publicly. Thank you so much for your heart. Thank you so much for your consistency. I remember saying in a staff meeting one time, if I had about 50 more Whitneys in Fresh Fire, we would be 10 times bigger. You would share our post on your page. We would tag you with our flyers, and it wasn't an issue. You were one of our biggest supporters. So thank you so much for that. That really meant a lot to me. Thank you.
No, Pilgrim, literally, I like the last couple of years, I've had experienced like 2 different church experiences, but with Pilgrim, like when it comes to like community and like family, like y'all really show love. Like y'all guys really show love, and that for me, because I wasn't I wasn't raised in church, so for me to be able to be a part of a church community, that was huge for me. So anytime I was able to support, I'm going to show support, especially when it's a genuine environment. And, just your word, you prophesied that I was going to come to California. Like that's that right there.
Sent me the video, I wouldn't have believed you. If you hadn't sent the video to me, I wouldn't have believed you, because I have to tell you, I have no idea what God is saying at the moment. So when I started, I was like, wow, I'm so grateful that God did exactly, not that I doubted him, because he'll always do what he said he's going to do. I was reading today in the scripture, and it really encouraged me in Romans chapter 4, verse 20. Just a couple of words. It says, and he staggered not according to his and that really, like, because sometimes we fall into these slumps where, okay, God, I know what you said.
Yes.
But where is the win of what you said? So I'm glad that God fulfilled that portion of your word over your life. And I'm super excited about all that God has in store for you. Not that long ago, and I know this feeling, you lost your grandmother.
Yeah.
Your grandmother in March. And to be honest with you, Whit, I know this is going to sound so insensitive. I kind of felt like my grandmother was older, She was coming out of the hospital, so I felt like, okay, I had prepared myself for it. So, but when it happened,
yeah,
I absolutely fell apart.
yeah,
Realizing that these women, we've known them our entire
life.
There was no life without them. You understand? It wasn't like a friend who we came and we met in college.
Yep.
I didn't know existence without her. You know? So I know you know you could relate to that. So how have you been coping with that? How's it been? It's pretty fresh, you know.
It's strange, but I really like I have moments where I miss my girl, but I just feel like she's still with me. Like it's the weirdest thing ever. And I'm like there's times I'm like, I don't know if this is normal for me to feel like that she just feel I just feel like she's always with me. And you know, I don't never really feel like that sadness. Maybe when it first happened, I was like, oh man, like grandma, like you not here. But now I just feel like, you know, she doesn't have to go through the stuff, half of the stuff that she was going through.
Yeah.
And you know, my grandmother lived, she was 93, so she lived even up to her, you know, passing days of 93, she lived. And so that for me, it was more like I need to live how my grandmother lived. Like I need I need to live to 93, you know, and like and the best way she did that was, you know, giving everything her best, being the best grandmother, best mother, best wife, best everything, and just giving it all, And so that's kind of the mindset that even by me moving to LA, that was kind of my mindset of like, you know what, Whitney, like, what would my grandmother want to do? Like, she was like, girl, go do something. Please go do something.
Yeah, I feel you. And that's a great way to be. And I know exactly what you mean. It's like all her love, all her teaching, all that stuff, it hasn't gone because she's gone. So it absolutely makes sense for you to still feel like she's with you because she's installed a lot in you. She's put a lot in you. So yeah, I'm glad that you're pushing through all that. Whitney is a blogger. She's a fashion designer. I'm like, the talent of Whitney House is unbelievable. The world, I promise you, you're going to be a household name because not only because you're talented, but you have the heart to match your talent. And I think a lot of times people don't have that. They can be super, extremely talented, but they don't have the heart behind it. And it's the same thing when it comes to like preachers. Like, why I try to be as authentic as I can be because the anointing is so dope, but authentic with the anointing. You know what I mean? It's more to me. So that's one of the things that I've always noticed about you, that you're extremely authentic. You're transparent. One of the things that you've always been transparent about is your mental health battle.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that story, that part of your life? One of the questions I've had because I think growing up in the Black community, especially that you said you didn't grow up in church. I grew up in church, right? Mental health is not something we discuss in churches.
Yeah.
We do, but before it was always like just apply Jesus. Just put Jesus to it.
Just pray about it.
Pray it off. Pray about it, and God. And the result is that we have a lot of grown people who go to church but have mental issues. So when you started to talk about that, it really tugged at me because I said this is something so honest that the church is so afraid to talk about. So one of the questions I had was, firstly, how did you know that something was wrong? Like, can you just walk us through that experience?
So, like the beginning stages, you know, I'm a very at that time I was very prideful. So, you know, I started to see the shift in me when, you know, when I couldn't get out of bed or I couldn't eat or I couldn't shower. And I would say like, you know, 7 days out of 7 days, I would say 3 days, 2 or 3 days, I would feel myself. The rest of the days, I would feel kind of this heavy burden. I would feel very alone, even though I wasn't alone, but I would feel very alone. I would feel, you know, just not Whitney. Like I'm a very bubbly, happy person. And, you know, and then also I love to create. So because I couldn't get out of bed, the creativity declined dramatically because I wanted to do it, but mentally I was not there. So even though people looked at me and said, "Oh wow, Whitney, like, you know, she's fine." Like I'm considered the strong friend. So I would go out, you know, put a smile on my face and, "Hey everybody." And no one had a clue, you know, that I was basically suffering in silence. And one of the things that I always want, I never want anybody to go through what I went through, like in terms of like mental health and, you know, feeling that burden, feeling that loneliness. Even though you're not alone, you just feel alone, and that loneliness, and then you start to feel, you know, why am I here? And then you know, you go through like suicidal thoughts and, you know, whatever. And then for me, I'm always wanted to try to do things on my own. So like praying about it. So that was my thing. Like, even though I was like heavy into, I was actually attending Pilgrim, even, you know, still feeling kind of like at my lowest, but I would go because it would fill me up. But then like the next day I would still feel, you know, empty. And so yeah, so it's a lot of those things people don't really, they don't acknowledge. I
Yeah,
didn't acknowledge it.
that's what I'm thinking to myself is, where did you find the strength, right, to acknowledge, hey, I'm not myself? Because I think we sometimes go into such a habit of, let me just operate, let me just do. Where did you find the strength to go, okay, this is not Whitney?
Yeah. It wasn't, honestly, I had, so for the viewers, 2019, last year, March, I had a mental breakdown. And during that mental breakdown was when I had time. I was actually admitted into a psych ward, and I had time to actually process, look back over like everything that I just didn't even acknowledge. I was just like, I just kept going. I just kept going, kept going. And it wasn't until I was like, wow, Whitney, this was going on for like almost, I would say like a year, maybe a year, or maybe 2 years, maybe. Of course, it didn't start off, you know, head on, but I, like, you know, by the time I reached my breaking point, which was my mental breakdown, that's when I realized, like, wow, Whitney, like, you know, you wasn't yourself for a really long time. Like, you weren't acknowledging it because I was just like, oh, I got this. I got this. I'm a keep going. I'm gonna keep going. And honestly, I could, like, at that point, I could not go on. Like, it really got to a level where I was like, I'm not okay. And that's when I put down the pride and said, Whitney, like, tell your sister that you're not okay. Like, you know, because she didn't live at, that if she was living with me, she would have known that I was depressed. Like most people who are like me, who can, you know, go out and smile and be happy, but at home, completely different people. So, you know, she came over and she was just like, you know, my sister, she never really experienced depression. So she's like, oh, just, you know, let's just take a walk. And that's some of the things that, you know, people that haven't experienced depression, they think you could just, like, you know, snap out of it, or, you know, get out of it. And it's really not that easy. It's really not that easy.
That's one of the things that as you're talking, I'm wondering, what does that conversation look like for those who are watching us, and they know, like, what you're saying is resonating with them. You had a conversation with your sister. What does that conversation look like? How does someone who knows that something isn't right now, how do they express that to the people that they love?
You gotta be
like with your sister, like,
is me and my sister. She's like my best friend. So you have to, for one, you have to express it to someone who you really, really trust. Because if you express that to the wrong person, it's going to damage you even more, and it could likely make you feel more depressed. Now, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So for like somebody like my sister who didn't understand, she was accepting of like, okay, my sister, she's telling me she's depressed, so that means that there's something not right. Like, you know, because she knows that I'm a bubbly, she's my sister, so she knows who I am, my personality. And she had no clue, because I would put on a face and, you know, hey, let's go hang out, and then, you know, come home and cry the night away. Like, she didn't know that. Wow. So by me, you know, reaching out to her, and I told her, you know, and then the moment I told her I was like, I needed to be admitted, she was like, oh, this is real. This is like, and she takes those things very serious. Like, she's studied psychology, so she knows what it does to like the mental, like when it comes to like mental health, like, you know, you need to be admitted. So when I got admitted, I didn't think that I was going to be admitted. I just told him like, you know, I wanted to go to the hospital. I didn't think I was really going to admit it. So I called her and I'm like, yeah, they said they're going to admit me. She's like, okay, good. I was like, I thought you was she was like, stay in there. I was just saying,
I think she wanted you to get help. So
yeah.
There's two things that I'm hearing that I want to hone in on, right? When you know something is wrong, right? And here's the truth. Those of you who are watching this, you know something's not wrong. It does not surprise you. You got to be honest with yourself and say, yeah, this is not me. So one of the things Whitney just said was she knew something was wrong, and she made a decision to invest what she was going through into someone she could trust. You have to find someone you can trust. Second thing I'm hearing, when people tell you that something is wrong, listen to them. Listen to them. Listen to what they're saying to you, because it takes so much courage to admit, hey, I'm struggling. So when someone with this issue, someone, even if it's small, whatever it may be, because small things become big when they're not addressed. So your sister's saying, okay, let's get help right away. That's powerful, because like you said, a lot of times people are like, well, just walk it off. Like, walk it off. Oh, go read, go write, go journal, go. But there are some of us who need professional guidance. Professional guidance. That's such a powerful statement. You also said you got admitted. And while you're in there, what are your thoughts like? Are you embarrassed? Are you ashamed at all? Or like what emotions are you feeling while you're in that particular process?
I know that because I got in on a Friday night. They admitted me Friday night, and that Saturday morning, I literally broke down. I was literally like, because at that time I had a deep relationship with God, so it was more like the conversation with God, like, God, like, was this really the last resort? Like, putting me in a psych ward, like, really? And it was really just like, wow, God, like, because I, like, in my mind, I'm like the self-love guru. Like, I'm the person I'm the go-to person that's like, you know, what do you do with this if you're going through, you know, self-care or whatever? And I was actually promoting a lot of like self-care around that time. So it was like, for me to be in a psych ward and promoting, it was definitely like, dang, like, is this really my life?
That's just how the enemy works. He will present the biggest trouble in the issue that you're most passionate. You know what I mean? That is so true. So was there a part of you that was embarrassed about this? Because I think we have such a stigma where it's almost like I'm embarrassed to admit. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know why. Was that part of the emotion with you?
Oh yeah, the first day, that first Saturday, it was, I woke up, and for one, I had the gown on. That made it worse because they give you a gown, and you know, you're in hospital outfits and stuff like that. And that was an eye opener, and that made me feel so like just worse, because I was like, dang, like, am I really, really in a psych ward? You know, and like that was like my and then on top of that, there was two things that when I got admitted, I was not open to taking medication, and I was not open to seeing a therapist. So those two things, when you first get admitted, by, you know, baseline, you have to take medication. That they already put you on medication. So I was on antidepressant, Zoloft, for like a good year. But yeah, so when I got in it, by the second day, I said, you know what, God, I'm here, and what do you want me to what do you want me to do while I'm here? So that's what got me through. I was in there for 6 days. That's what got me through the remaining days. And before I knew it, I literally interacted with so many different people, and so I've interacted with actors, artists, doctors, nurses. There's different types of people that's in a psych ward, that, you know, people think that it's like just crazy people. No, these are people who just didn't know what to do with themselves mentally, and they can't process it, and they're there. And I had met with people that were like, Whitney, like your energy, like something about your energy makes me so happy. Like, you know, even though we're in this together, but you're so lively while being here. And that made me feel lively. And I was like, wow, like I didn't know, by me just being present and me just saying, you know what, God, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
People, you know, it opened up a lot of, you know, doorways to seeing like, oh, this person's here, but you know, she's not down about it. She's not sad about it. She's happy. I was doing art therapy, music therapy. I was sometimes doing yoga in the room. And every time, like throughout the day, they have to write down, you know, what the patient's doing throughout the day. So in my mind, I'm like, well, if they're writing that down, that means that I can, if they look back at that paper, that means that I could probably leave soon. So I was, I was also being strategic as well, because I'm like, well, if I'm doing the activity, then that means that I could leave. So they would write down, you know, everything. And even at some point, I think probably my last day, one of the nurses she said, no offense. She said, but I really feel like you're not supposed to be here. She was like, and she was like, I never say that to patients because I'm not really supposed to. But she was like, honestly, you really don't seem like you're supposed to be here. She was like, I seen your interaction with everybody, and you're so like, you know, bubbly. Like when I had visitors, like my mom was visiting, friends were visiting, I would like, you know, dance and joke around and stuff like that, and they would jot that down, and I was, you know, I just made the best of it. So yeah, but the beginning stages, that first day it hit me.
Yeah. I hope you guys are hearing this, that what you're feeling, that embarrassment or that moment of uncertainty of even being scared with accepting what you're going through, it's normal. People who have these issues, this is what they feel. I don't want you to feel, I mean, not you, I mean, whoever, like,
yeah.
I don't want you to feel like you're abnormal for having feelings like this. Whitney said when she went to this place that she realized, wow, there's so many issues that I haven't addressed that led to my breakdown. Sometimes we don't realize that we put all this stuff on top of us, never taking off anything, years of hurt, years of abuse, years of self-doubt, and we wonder why we break.
Yep.
If you put something too heavy for a table on it, it will hold for a while, but eventually, if it's too heavy, it will break.
Yep.
I don't want people to break. I want people to get help. You said something so key too, is as you're in there, right? And this is going to sound, I don't want to use the word crazy. We're talking about mental health, but this is out there. But you said while you're in there, you're talking to God, right? Do you believe, and this is going to make people angry, right? So do you believe that you can love God and still go through this? Like there are people who believe there's no way that you can have this type of issue and call yourself a Christian, call yourself a believer. What do you say to those skeptical people?
Well, honestly, I guess it's more about my relationship with God. So if you're not in that state of mind where you're like, you know, close with God, where you have that relationship, you would literally be like, God, why would you ever do this? Like, we was like, you know, I prayed about it and you were supposed to heal me. But sometimes God does things in a lens that you didn't think was going to happen. Like by me going there, I didn't think, you know, this was going to be the best thing that ever happened to me. I didn't know that. But because of my relationship with God, it helped me to understand him even more, understand myself more. Wow. So I literally was like, okay, God, like if you got me through this, then I know you could get me through anything after this. Right. But yeah, some people look at it like, wow, like, you know, God would never do that to you. But it's like from the beginning stages to me, you know, this whole year and a half of me getting my mental health, you know, healthy, that was all God. You know what I mean? It may have seemed very like God couldn't have done that, but honestly, I wouldn't have been able to tell my testimony. I've had so many people reach out to me and say, Whitney, even till today, like, you know, Whitney, thank you so much. I'm now seeking therapy. I'm now taking medication. I'm now taking my mental health better. Like, with God, it's always about the testimony. It's never, it's always about the testimony. So, and the crazy thing is, as soon as I came out of the psych ward, I literally turned on my camera, and the first thing I did was record that I was in a psych ward. That was the first thing I wanted to do. I said, as soon as I get home, that's the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to record my, my testimony of me being in a psych ward. And, and that helped a lot of people, even people that don't believe in God or believe in Jesus, now are like, wow, like this girl went through that, and now she's better, a better person. It now brings them to be curious about God. It now brings them more curious about Jesus. So it's like more like I'm witnessing to people, but in a way that they're not even realizing that they're being witnessed to.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't realize that what we go through now is really to help someone later. Had you gone through that, imagine how many people who have heard your testimony would still be stuck in what they could be delivered from. So sometimes, and this is what I'm praying for in this pandemic, right? We just talking. Let me just be honest.
I'm here.
I'm praying that the church expands their mindset. It goes beyond the old school silly teaching that they forced on us. There are people who need help but won't get help because you're telling us to dial 1-800-Jesus. I want to be a better person. And that means my process might be different. Yeah. My process might have to go through a psych ward. My process may have to be me going and sitting down and talking to someone. But you came out of that experience loving God more, trusting God more. How could this have not been a God experience?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like sometimes things that we go through, I think it's a very bad confirmation, or it's a very bad understanding that everything in God is just roses.
Yeah.
Everything is good. How are we taught to love God in the bad? How are we taught to trust God if everything in our life is perfect? So I think people need to hear that you can still love God and need help.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm the walking testimony of that. Like, I'm literally the walking testimony of that. And, some of the things that people, when I try to, people looking on the outside, looking in, they're like, oh, you got this going on. You're so amazing. And I'm like, that was God. Like, I try to put it in the simplest form as possible. And that's the reason why I share the testimony so much, because I want people to understand that it's not, I couldn't have done this on my own. I could not have done this on my own. I didn't want to go to, you think I want to check myself into a psych ward? I didn't want to check myself into a psych ward. I didn't want to be on anyone's medication, nor did I want to see anyone's therapist, so those three things is what made me better. Those three things. And it's not that I was on it for a long period of time, because literally a whole year from March, I believe March 6th. March 6th was when I got on the medication of 2019. March 6th of 2020, God said, you getting off of that. It was just to enhance you. That was it. And it literally enhanced me, and I got off of it. Same thing with therapy. It was to acknowledge that, areas where I'm kind of declining, and I'm realizing, okay, Whitney, this is the area you need to enhance, and this is the area you need to let go. This is, because when I got to LA, I couldn't do therapy anymore because I was moving to a different state. These last couple of weeks, I'm leaning on God like no other. And it made me realize, like, wow, like, I went through so many transitions in the last 2 months that, that could have broke me. That could have been like, girl, this is it. But I leaned into God because God said, no, all right, this is what we're going to have the therapist, acknowledge what's going on the surface. But now you can lean on me officially. You don't have to lean on a therapist. So it's not, some things are just temporary. Like, these are just like temporary fixes. And and these are the things that God led me to, and it helped me, and now I can now stand on my 2 feet. It's almost like when you're sick, you take medication, but you're not. Sometimes when you just like if you have like a common cold, you just take the medication for that. If you have a headache, you take Tylenol real fast, and then you're good. It's the
Right.
same thing with like mental health. If you Sometimes some people don't need to be on medication for a long period of time. Some people do. It depends. It really depends on where you are mentally. And you, again, during this whole journey, I seek God 100%. God, what I may not agree with what God wants me to do, but it's it's something that it was mandatory for me to do. Like, okay, God, this is not working out, but this is. So let's continue on this route. And until he says it's not working, it's not working. You let it go.
You are preaching right
Yeah.
now. If you are willing to do the work, then the construction is just temporary.
Yep.
If people are coming to do the work, then temporary sign is not going to be there, because eventually it's going to be a finished work. Good God.
Yes.
If you are willing to do the work, it's just temporary.
Yep.
Lean on God. Trust God in the midst of doing the work. What does doing the work look like? Get help. Pray, fast, read your word, but talk to someone, seek professional help. That's all a part of the process. That's all a part of the process. So you said that you are maintaining health, mental health, like you're maintaining your mental health. What does that look like? What are you doing every day to sort of help you maintain that space that you worked hard to be in?
So the first step is I'm always checking in with myself every day. I'm checking. The first thing when I first wake up, I'm asking myself, Whitney, how do you feel right now? How are you right now? And if I'm feeling tired, okay, that means you need to rest a little bit. If you're feeling, if you're feeling overwhelmed, you need to let go of something. If you're feeling, joyful, then, embrace that, even spill that over to somebody else. It's all about acknowledging how you feel, because every day is a different feeling. You gotta, we're not robots. We're not gonna come with a general feeling every day. Every day is a different feeling. Right. So I'm constantly checking in with myself, and I'm always somehow I get a workout in, whether it's me walking, whether it's me running, now that I live in LA, everybody does like hiking, so I've been like hiking, and I try to like do anything that's like physical, because I don't know what it's called, but it releases something in your brain where it makes you feel uplifted. So that even when people say, get better with your health, they always tell you to work out. They say work out. And then also
we're checking in with ourselves, get some type of physical activity going on. Mm-hmm. I'm listening. What else you got?
And I'm always spending time with God, whether that means I'm always spending, like, even if I'm like on a fast pace, by the end of that night, I'm watching a sermon, or I'm just sitting in silence, and I'm just asking God, like, what is it that you want me to do during the season? What is it that you need me to do during the season? And then the last thing is socializing. Like, even though we can't physically socialize, somehow, I'm on the phone with my sister, on the phone with my friends. And that's another thing that's very important, who you socialize with. Because if you're socializing with someone who is just flat out negative, and all they want to talk about is negativity, that affects you somehow, some way. So you have to be in an alignment with people who are on the same page as you, even if it's just that one friend. If you have that one friend, stick with that one friend. You don't have to have 1,000 friends and, a bunch of friends that, because all those opinions matter, whether you like it or not. Those opinions matter, whether it's negative or positive. So those things I usually maintain. And then, again, I'm always checking in with my mental health. And this is really the last one. Social media. I take social media breaks like it's nobody business, because I do a lot of business on social media, and sometimes I just find myself just on Instagram scrolling. But when it comes to taking a break and I'm feeling overwhelmed, Instagram, social media, Facebook, whatever, I'm you being put on pause for like at least a week, just so I can regroup, because while you're scrolling and all that stuff, you're taking all of that in.
You're putting it in.
Yeah,
Yep.
you take all that in.
That's good. These are tips. These are tips that are going to work for people. What do you say to someone who is still reluctant? They what you're saying is resonating with them, but they're reluctant to get help right now. What do you say to that person?
But I couldn't hear you. Say that one more time.
What do you say to someone who right now is reluctant to get help? They hear you. They know that what you're saying resonates with them, but they're still like, what are people going to say? What, like, should I do this? Should I step out and get the help?
I would say you want to get help sooner than later, because the sooner you get it, you don't want to be like someone like me who was prideful and was like, oh, I'm not telling anyone because I don't want nobody to know that I'm depressed. I don't want nobody to know that I can't get out of bed. I don't want nobody to know that I can't eat or shower on my own. No, if you can get help, get it as soon as possible. Like, that's like if you got into a car accident and your leg is broken, are you going to just walk around with a broken leg? No, you're going to go get help. If you know that you're not meant to, I try to break it into like practical understanding. Yeah. Mental health, you're broken and you're still trying to figure out what's wrong with you, and so you have to seek the help in order to get what you need. Other than that, it's gonna get worse, and it's sad to say that, but if you don't get the proper care, it's gonna get worse. I'm the walking person that literally was like, "Oh, tomorrow I'll be better. Tomorrow I'll be better." No, it doesn't. You got to get the professional help. You have to.
Right. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to take a moment to spotlight your business. I want everyone to see what you went through, what it birthed. Right. So tell us about your business. I know that you have a YouTube page. What else do you do? Tell us about your business. The business.
So we have the Creative Era, which is the main brand, and that focuses on hand painted, handcrafted products. I make things from like book bags from scratch, hand painted sweaters, t-shirts, hats, anything you could think of. I'm just a creative person in that area. And then I have a second business, which is called Whip Notes, which stands for Whitney House Positive Notes. And that solely focuses on self-care, self-love, self-awareness, mental health. Because as an entrepreneur, we can focus on just building a brand, but those things play a huge role in your mental health as well. Right. And then the other brand is Grinding on Dreams, which is a brand that is more of a startup in terms of helping other people with their entrepreneurship. I've been in January will be 10 years that I've been an entrepreneur. So it's been a long journey. So I have a lot of information, a lot of knowledge that I can share that I've learned during this long journey of 10 years. So so that's yeah, that's 3. But I have one more. I have one more. And Kicks by TCE, which is Kicks by the Creative Era, and that's a branch off from just the Creative Era, which is just solely on sneakers and customizing sneakers. So it's technically 4, and the YouTube is just I'm now using it as the insight for my lifestyle, like just the behind the scenes of like, who is Whitney, what does she do, and stuff like that. Yeah,
I got you. Can you tell people where to find your products, where to find you? They want to see pictures of your dope stuff. Where can we see all that stuff?
So you can follow me on @the Creative Era, and that is all my other pages are linked in that bio. So if you guys want to go to @the Creative Era, you guys can go into the bio and it'll link you to all the other brands that I have, because there's so many. It's like there's different ones.
That is the least of your complaints. Like,
yes,
that is good. I was thinking, I saw you just counting, but I remember also part of your word was God saying that you were going to have multiple streams of income.
So when you said that, you said 3. I was like, because at the time I didn't have Kicks by TCE, and I said, "Wow!" I was like, "Okay, God, I see you. I see you."
Yeah, dope.
Yeah.
All right. So one more time, where can people find you? Because I want people to watch this, and I don't want them to just hear your story. I want them to support your story. So just one more time, what's your Instagram?
So my Instagram is
website for just the gram.
It's at the Creative Era, and you can also find it on my website, which is at thecreativeera.com, and they're all my other brands are attached to that as well. So they're all the Creative Era is just the umbrella, and then everything else is attached to it.
I hear that.
Yeah.
The name of this podcast or this YouTube page is Epowerment. It's out of me understanding that in this season, God has called us to be a light in the darkness. The Bible says that God created light and darkness together, but He separated light from darkness. That's scripture. Realizing that life is not about shade; it's about light. It's about being empowered. It's about being positive. So I ask everybody this whenever I'm interviewing them: what empowers you?
What empowers me is God, for one. God, because even though everyone looks at God like a very serious, but me and God we have a very funny relationship. So I'm always like, God, you're mad funny for that. And then and just everyday living also empowers me. Me walking down a block, I can just see a t-shirt design and be like, oh, that's good. Or I could see a bug. I know that sounds weird, but like I can see anything and kind of create off of that. So everyday living is my empowerment.
Love it. Man, yeah. That's a good answer. I want everyone. Thank you, Whit. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think you are one of the dopest people. Your heart, your spirit, your consistency. I'm so excited for what God's going to do. I am excited about your recovery. And I know that might mean nothing to somebody, but I know what that means. I'm excited about your recovery. I know God's going to do big things. Just don't forget about little old me, all right?
No, for one, I need you. This what I need. This what I need from you. This what I need from you. No more little. It's not little. It's not little.
I got you.
It's no more little. It's what we in 8 seasons?
Yeah, man.
There's no more little. There's no more little. Sorry. I'm here to tell you that there's no more little.
I got you.
You're in 8 seasons. There's no if you little, it was like 2 seasons, but this 8 seasons. So no more little.
8 powerful seasons, so I'm excited about what God's doing for Fire. So listen, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I want to leave you with this. If you understood what this lady was saying tonight, if this resonated with you, I don't want to just leave you with a story. I want to leave you with a resource. If you know that something is not right, if you know you need to talk to someone, if you know that you want a doctor, that you need help, I need you to contact this number, 1-800-662-HELP. That's 1-800-662-4357. It is a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week number, all year round. You can contact this number. It is confidential. It's private. They're not going to post it on your social media. Get help if you need help. All right? It's just temporary as long as you are willing to do the work. All right? We love you. I love you so much for watching. Thank y'all so much for being with us. I pray that this conversation gets something for you. Drop those comments, share, forward this to someone that you know will be helped by it. And I believe God is going to do something for all of us. All right? I love you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Deuces.